Hi, everybody. It's Channel Weird. We're doing a special Channel Weird today. We are in the middle of doing the conference at Contact in the Desert, which is a conference that originates out of California. And so we are going to do a shorter version of Channel Weird today. And but we have a special guest that we're very excited to have on the program. And it's kind of like Bigfoot. We see him every once in a while, but we don't talk to him as much as we should. And that is, of course, Mr. Lobo from Insomnia, one of my favorite horror hosts. And well, I just thought it'd be fun to have him on and do some commentary for us and talk about what's going on in his world. Hey, Mr. Lobo, you there?
Greetings, Clyde. It is a pleasure to be back with you in the great beyond.
So good to have you here. I'm glad to see you're still doing what you're doing. And, I've always told
20 years now.
How many years?
20 years now.
See, 20 years. That's amazing because I remember... I think I told you once, I said, one of the things I've always wanted to be is a horror host, or at least a horror host that, looks back with fondness at some of these older movies, these old films. And you do that, and I think that's an amazing thing. So you've been doing it for 20 years. What got you started in doing this?
Well, of course, I think we all grew up with creature features. Well, I grew up with creature features. I'll speak for myself. But I loved horror hosts. I love horror movies. I just love movies in general, but of course, loving movies doesn't mean a thing is going to happen where you're going to host movies. But I wrote for a magazine called Planet X, and we interviewed Bob Wilkins, who was my childhood horror host on Creature Features, and we did a live show where we recreated the old days of Creature Features, and I wrote some jokes for Bob. And Bob encouraged me. He said, you should get out in front of a camera and host movies. I'm like, Bob, they don't do that anymore. And he's like, well, maybe they should. And so 8 years later, after that, I worked at a television station, and they had an overnight movie in 2001. They had an overnight movie that ran 25 minutes short. And I went to the general manager's office, and I said, you've got 6 and 8 minute commercial breaks in this movie overnight. Have you ever sat through a 6.5 minute commercial break? Maybe we can fill that time with something more interesting. And they didn't care, which was the best license ever. And we started at that ABC affiliate. We went into syndication and on, and here we are. Still
was
doing
that
it.
That was KXTV, right? Or
that was KXTV. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
And it's really awesome the way these stories transpire, because it's true. I mean, back in the day, they had to fill a lot of time, and the sad thing is a lot of people have rejected the idea that local programming. They said, well, local programming doesn't bring in the money, but I was saying the thing I loved was when I was a kid, I would go and deliver my newspapers. And we used to have a thing called Science Fiction Double Feature, or Science Fiction Theater. It was on Saturdays on KTVX Channel 4. And at one time, they had the overnights were hosted by a guy by the name of Dr. Volapak. And it was a guy named Larry Johns. Yeah. I worked with him. It was Larry Johns was his name. He was Dr. Volapak. And he also doubled as a children's host on a show called Hotel Balderdash. And I knew it was him because I could tell his body form, his body shape. But it was really awesome because I got to talk to him about some of the movies that he put out, and that made me a lover of this kind of genre of film. And I wrote my own fanzine at one time and did my own little horror film called Nightfall, which starred Jeff Rector and a few other people. In fact, Dave Hayter, who went on to do anime. He was in it, a few other people.
We need to get this on Cinema Insomnia.
Oh, you should. It's a trauma film. I mean,
I'll have to talk to Lloyd. Maybe we can
talk to Lloyd, and maybe even talk to Avenger 4, because that's the one I'm on. I feel bad though that I have nothing to do with the new reboot, because I haven't said anything. I know that I helped do the sizzle reel to get Toxie out of the independent cinema into the major cinema. And I think Peter Dinklage is going to be playing the part of Toxie. I think he's going to do the voice, though. I have a feeling. I just don't see the Toxic Avenger being dwarfed. I just don't.
No, I think it's the other way around. I think they're going to do a reversal on Lord of the Rings, where they proportionately make him bigger than everyone else, which would be very, I think, fun for him to finally be taller than everyone.
That would be great if they did that. I mean, I don't know how they're going to pull it off.
He could play the nerd.
Yeah.
He could play the Toxie who's getting pushed, or a Melvin who's getting pushed around by the jocks or whatever at the
Right.
health club. And then when
Right.
he falls in the toxic waste, they could just digitally make him larger and buffer than everyone. I think that would
Well,
be beautiful if they did it like that.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope that I hope maybe I could go to the premiere. That'd be fun. Just to just to have a little bit of nostalgia in my life and go back and
They
look at
need
the
they don't shouldn't have a red carpet though. It should be like a slime green carpet.
slip and slide. It'll be a slip and slide, and it'll be toxic green sludge, and we'll just slide into
Yeah.
go see the toxic Avenger. That'd be a lot of fun. But see, that's the thing is that my dream was to do what you do. I wound up being the toxic Avenger. I think that's the closest I'll ever come to being involved in one of those creature feature type shows.
It's very cool. Yeah, I love hearing about your tales as the Toxic Avenger, because that's certainly one of the strongest icons of B through Z movies. So that's very
Right.
cool.
I mean, for all of us. I mean, out of all the movies that you have hosted, what is your favorite? Is it always the worst that's your favorite, or do you have one that you really, really love?
Well, we like to say they're not bad movies, just misunderstood.
It's true.
And
Yes.
I honestly, all of the movies that I present, as much jokes notwithstanding, the worst films of all time aren't worth making witty commentary about. The Meredith Baxter Bernie Disease of the Week movie, or some romantic comedy with Ashton Kutcher from 10 years ago that nobody remembers the name of. Those are the worst movies of all time, because we can't even remember them. Movies with robots and monsters and kung fu and pirates are good movies, as far as I'm concerned. I know you're a fan of Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, yes. I'm wearing my shirt today.
Well, I got something to show you. This is show and tell. This,
all right.
Okay, can you see this? This is the electrode gun. Okay?
Oh, my God, really?
So Tala puts this against Tor Johnson's neck, and she leads him around, because this is how they reanimate the dead.
Oh,
this
fantastic.
This is a recreation of the original prop. The original prop is a kid's dart gun from either Tom Corbett or Space Patrol, or maybe both.
Right.
It's a kid's dart gun, and then they left the dart inside the gun, and then they put a piece of rubber hose to cover up the dart.
Right.
And then they took another piece of rubber hose and split it in half to make these parts here. And I think they probably had Tala hold it because it was kind of small. So having Tala hold it instead of Eros probably made it seem a little bigger and a little more menacing than it really was. But anyhow, this is a little slice of Plan 9.
You have the gun, but I think I've done something that you haven't done.
Oh, yeah?
I touched Dolores Fuller. Just like
Ooh, wow.
I met her in Burbank.
Wow, I'm jealous.
She was at a hotel, and she was wearing a cashmere sweater.
Wow.
And I asked her,
good.
I go, "Is this Ed's sweater?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "So not only am I touching you, Dolores, I'm touching Ed as well."
That's very cool.
Somewhere on my body,
this is my Criswell. I'm touching my little Criswell dashboard ornament right now.
Oh, that is so awesome. That is so awesome.
Jeff Carlson makes these, and it's just like it glows in the dark. So he's like my little deity.
You're near all that. I can't even get close. I mean, I have to order my shirts through the mail, and I'm turning my stepson on to old horror films too. Yeah. He's got a Creepshow shirt, and I'm getting him a Toxic Avenger shirt. So I'm getting in well versed in it. We're watching old movies together, actually.
The classics. Yes, the classics.
We're watching classics. I just had I just watched Robot Monster. In fact, it's behind me right now. Just watched Robot Monster because of the fact that I was, told that the woman that was in it, Claudia Barrett, just passed away. She was 91, and she's the one that was carried out by Robot Monster. And so we were watching.
Show me the one called Alice. Yeah.
Humans, you die. I will recalculate.
Roman XJ2, XJ5, I'm trying to remember now, but Roman was in love with Alice. Yes. And it made a lot of confusion for him. I must, but I cannot. Yeah, he was taken by her.
But didn't he really take off her top? He did, didn't he? I remember that.
He busts her halter. Yeah.
And they said in some they censored it, or I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, I think they were getting a little what's the word? They wanted to be very provocative, and so it was
which
one of
is
the
which
reasons I
is
just wanted to
weird.
see your boobs. That's
Which
all.
is weird because this is supposed to be like a 10-year-old's dream, the whole movie, right?
Right.
It's supposed to be a 10-year-old's dream. It's like, boy, that gets pretty weird right there. There's another scene in that movie that's very Freudian
Yeah.
where Alice and Roy are fixing their control panel or trying to change the deflector screen or whatever, but they're doing some repairs to their equipment, and it's
Right.
just a shot of their hands, and it sounds like pillow talk, which is, could you hold this here? And oh, I don't know if I should do this. And how does this feel? Is this okay? And it's this really strange. It seems to go on forever when they're repairing this control panel, and as you just see their hands and hear their voices, and it's very Freudian and weird, and I just love it.
I
It's
noticed.
such a strange choice.
I noticed in the credits they even gave the bubble machine a credit. There was
Yes,
some chemical company, and they had
the
to promote the chemical company that provided the bubble machine.
the billion bubble machine, and that guy just had a, I don't know if he just died. I think he also just died too. So it's interesting that Claudia and Barrett and the man who made the billion bubble machine both passed away at the same time. But Phil Tucker, I was confused Phil Tucker with the guy who made Teenagers from Outer Space who killed himself. I don't think Phil Tucker killed himself. He ended up making like Wonder Woman episodes and Incredible Hulk and Wild Wild West, and I think he just did a
So
lot
who
of
was it?
directing for TV.
Okay, so this gets back. I was going to ask you that question because I remember either he hated the reviews or the reviews were so bad that he felt so bad about films that he wanted to commit suicide. I didn't know if he did or he didn't kill himself.
I'm not sure, but I know that in the case of the guy who directed Teenagers from Outer Space, he passed away very relatively soon after that movie was made.
Right.
Whereas Phil Tucker lived into the 80s, so and he was into his 50s, so he may have committed suicide. I don't have that data in front of me, but I confuse his story with somebody else's. He worked in Hollywood for a long time on a lot of different projects, so it didn't kill his career. He just moved to television. In fact, he did Cape Canaveral Monsters, which is a relatively successful TV horror film.
I know that we're involved at the moment with this conference that's going on called Contact in the Desert. I was just curious though, is there ever and should there be? And I would be wholeheartedly behind it. I mean, we have comic book conventions. Why not be horror movie conventions?
Oh, there are horror movie conventions.
But they're
Yes,
only in
there.
California though, right? I mean, I
No, they're all over. They're all
oh
over.
okay.
Yeah, there's
I
Monster Bash in Pennsylvania and Monster Fest in Virginia and Monster Mania in New Jersey and on and on and on. Yeah, there are lots of horror conventions and every state has one. And
I mean,
every
I like to know when ours is because I know they have a horror convention where they basically have all the Spook Alley directors get together to find out what the newest horror props are, and you could go to that. I went to that one year; it was a lot of fun, and they had a lot of cool things you could see that you could buy for your horror collection. But I would love to just if I had time.
I have an event for you. I have an event for you for Channel Weird. There's an
Okay.
event every year at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. There is Blob Fest celebrating the movie The Blob. And this was the actual theater where the movie was filmed when that
Oh,
in that famous scene when the projectionist gets killed and it comes through the wall and chases all the people out of the movie theater and 300 people go running out into the street.
oh,
They reenact that every year at the Colonial. Well, not last year because of the pandemic, but where they reenact the run out every year. They've been doing it for 20 years, and it's an amazing event. There's a whole street fair, and people dress 50s, and there's rockabilly bands and classic cars, and we do double features with the Blob all weekend long. It's a great event, and the original fire truck and some of the original vehicles from the 1958 film are there. So it's just the whole town gets into it. And if you want to see the diner, remember the diner gets attacked by the Blob. You could drive a
uh-huh,
little ways and see the diner,
right.
the school, the professor's house. All of the locations from the movie The Blob are within driving distance.
I would love that because I just love going to places that are famous that have a connection to these films or even to I guess you could say alien stories. In fact, out of all the places I've been to, I went to Roswell I go every year when I can to celebrate the Roswell crash. One of the most important places, one of the most significant places in my life where I went was Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ooh,
And
yes.
I visited there because I was doing a documentary on War of the Worlds. I was actually being interviewed for my views on it. And they flew me out to New York. We had a great breakfast, took a cab out to Princeton. And if you blink your eyes, you see Grover's Mill. It's a little barn, it says Grover's Mill on it. There's the water tower that looked like a tripod that they shot at. And then you go a little bit up the road past this river, and it has this little park, and you go through the park, and buried in the bushes is this monument to Orson Welles.
Oh,
And it
wow.
says, here is the spot in 1938 where the aliens invaded Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
That's
And
fantastic.
it just felt like hallowed ground to me. It was amazing how
I would think as a
magical.
radio guy, that would be Mecca.
Oh, it was. It was to me, and I'm sure going to that theater would be the same. Anytime I can get close. In fact, I was trying to get out to that cave where Robot Monster was filmed, but my stepson and my wife made it up there before I did because I just couldn't. My legs wouldn't let me get up there. But it was the same. I think the same cave.
That's a different way of getting close to Orson Welles.
But
we all need to watch out for. I know.
Yeah.
I've gained about 50 pounds.
Yeah, I think we're all getting there. We're getting old and we're gaining weight. But yeah, that cave was where they filmed Batman too, from what I understand. Out there. And so I wanted to go. It was near the Hollywood sign. I was out there and didn't quite make it. So there are a lot of places where I would love to go and to at least be there and say I was there, in the theater where the Blob, attacked, or I was there in Grover's Mill, or I was there. That just to me is probably more like a holy grail than anything else.
I've never been to the Exorcist steps or seen the Amityville house. I would love to go to those places.
Yeah, and I was in Washington, D.C., and I didn't get a chance to go out there, and I thought about it. I thought, of all the places in Washington, D.C., where do I go? The White House, and it wasn't all that impressive to me. In fact, I wasn't all that impressed with Washington, D.C. You see it in the movies all the time. You see the Washington Monument, and you see all those things, and Ron Patton and I were at the White House, and I just wasn't all that impressed. We tried. What we did is we went into this place that was near the White House, and we were actually standing there telling people that we're selling timeshare. We were selling timeshares in the White House. We were standing next to Barbara Bush's funeral book, and we were selling timeshares to the White House. It's really funny. That's how bored we were with Washington, D.C. Wow. So there you go.
Wow. A lot of aliens always land on the White House lawn, though, in those old movies. So
yeah, they should.
Maybe they should land somewhere else.
All right, I'm getting a nod. We're going to take a break for just a second. Mr. Lobo is with us with Cinema Insomnia, and we're going to take a break. And coming back, we'll talk more about what he's up to and what he's doing right here on Channel Weird. We'll be right back. It's a well-known fact that controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored and even banned on the internet by corporate and political interests. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. And in order to counter the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digital playground called Aftermath. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring a social media platform, videos, audio clips, archive shows, research groups, documents, and a news aggregator. In addition, we're hosting other Ground Zero friendly podcasts like Conspirafact with Wes and Bill, Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean, Pair Awareness with Mr. Gates and Isaac Weishaupt, Opposing Perspective with James Ponder, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray Valentine, and several more shows. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are available too. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month. The yearly special for new subscribers during the month of June is only $99. Sign up now by going to aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com.
It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain, and the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
Mr. Lobo with us from Cinema Insomnia on Channel Weird. So good to have him.
It's great to be here.
Talking about old movies and all kinds of fun stuff. So what are you up to these days? I mean, you're still doing Cinema Insomnia, but
yes.
How are more and more people going to find out more about Mr. Lobo?
Well, I have my own streaming channel called OSI 74, which is for Roku, and it's kind of like a UHF station from an alternate universe. A lot of weird stuff and a lot of stuff that your viewers will enjoy. We're gonna have an app this fall, so it'll be even more accessible. I'm doing a Twitch stream tonight, Twitch TV/Cinema Insomnia. We do double features every Saturday night on Twitch, and I often do a Q&A, a live Q&A with the fans before the films start. And I've got 21 DVDs currently in print through Alpha Video. I was a huge avid collector of those Alpha Videos, all those old public domain movies and stuff. I never thought my show would be old enough to be to be on Alpha Video, but apparently my show has finally gotten nostalgic enough and old enough to be on Alpha Video. So if you go to oldies.com, you can start your DVD collection, and I think they got a special where you can get like 10 DVDs for $40, so you could really get an instant Mr. Lobo DVD collection. I'm doing live events all the time. We're doing a virtual version of Blob Fest this year. So go to the Colonial Theater website if you're interested in checking out the virtual Blob Fest. Doing conventions, film festivals. I just hosted Critters with the Kyoto brothers, Critters 1 and 2 at the Mahoning Drive-In. We do events there. Keeping it going, keeping it busy, keeping it lively, making new episodes, celebrating our 20th anniversary of Misunderstood Movies.
I think that would be a good time to revive the drive-in. I mean, a lot of people have been going to drive-in movies to see concerts. I just regret the fact that many drive-ins had been taken down. I mean, I come from Salt Lake City, where I grew up. We had a number of drive-ins everywhere, and they all got shut down. Then the Redwood Drive-In was the only surviving drive-in in Salt Lake County, and then their screen burned down, so they had to redo the screen. But we have one drive-in close by that I know of. It's on 99W here in Oregon. And every once in a while, I've been saying, "Hey, let's get up the nerve to drive out there." It's in Newburgh. It's quite a drive to get out there. I would love to go see a drive-in again, but I would just hope that there would be. And I'm like I said, I'm finding a renaissance with my stepson who has interest in some of these movies. And I was just curious: are there when you do these conventions and when you're out there, do you see that the demographic still remains? I mean, I know there are probably a lot of older people like you and me who go to these things and enjoy them. What do we see though with the younger crowds?
It's completely changed. Horror conventions to me, it was all a bunch of dudes for the most part, and we were all the monster kids and all in our all middle aged. Mm-hmm. But things have really changed. I mean, at the Mahoning show, and again, drive-ins are flourishing. The pandemic turned things around for drive-ins. Drive-ins ended up being one of the only places you could go to see a movie during the pandemic. So, when we started going to the Mahoning out here in Pennsylvania we were like, oh, we hope they make it. We're supporting the drive-in. They're packed every weekend now.
Yeah.
And it's young kids and families and older people, younger people, women, men, all sorts of the full spectrum of cultures, creeds, demographics, lifestyles. It's really amazing how horror films have become, maybe because real life's become so horrible, but
Right.
horror films have become very mainstream fare that a lot of people enjoy. It's not just a niche audience.
Yeah, my stepson met June Lockhart at a gathering, and he was really impressed. Really enjoyed meeting June Lockhart. And it was like when I met Beverly Garland for the first time. I was like, oh wow, I'm meeting Beverly Garland, amazing. And you know, and it's just that magic when you know that you've been watching these shows, and I know they're older, and you look at them and you're saying, yeah, they were younger than their prime. But man, I'll tell you, they make an impression on you, and you remember them. And I know that my stepson now is watching more advanced horror films like Saw. He met Tobin Bell, was really excited. But I just love the thrill of being able to see these movies, know what goes into them, and being a part of a horror movie myself, being in either Toxic Avenger or Nightfall. I just enjoyed my time doing it because it's just a lot of fun.
I mean, Saw has some classic aspects to it. It's a little bit Dr. Phibes in ways, with
Oh
some
yeah,
of all the creativity of some of the kills in
another
that
of my
movie.
favorite films. Mhm.
There's a lot of craft in them. They're well photographed. They're beautiful as far as how those movies are filmed, and they weave together well. I mean, what's interesting is that when VCRs were happening and videotape was happening, we started watching. We started renting Friday the 13th 1 and 2 and 3 because 4 was coming out. And when
Mhm.
you watch all those movies back to back, they were made in a different era where people just assumed that there'd be a 2 or 3 year gap between you watching these movies, and continuity between entries in a franchise wasn't that important. But
Mhm.
now with the internet, you can literally side by side compare any newer movie with any older movie. And so
Right.
there has to be, if you're going to take on a franchise, you really have to do some smart writing so that the movies actually relate to each other, and that you're not contradicting yourself
Right.
with the sequels. The X-Men movies are a mess where it's like none of it even lines up between two. It's like the next guy who makes the next movie doesn't look at what the last guy did, and again and again. Same with the most recent Star Wars films. They made the mistake of not watching or paying attention to their own movies also.
Yeah, I mean that's the
Where
whole thing. They have to be it's got to be continuity. That's what made the other ones magical. And like I mean, like you were saying, we got a whole new group, whole new generation. We got Halloween Kills coming out. I just found out that Rob Zombie's going to be doing the Munsters. We're trying to get an interview with Butch Patrick because I've been rewatching those. And in fact, I was in a record store the other day. They were selling Munsters action figures, which I thought was fun. So
The monsters are really interesting. My concern with the Rob Zombie monsters thing, and that's a hot topic right now. You go into any horror chat room or any horror group on Facebook, everyone is concerned about Rob Zombie directing the monsters. And I think that what's interesting to me is that we have two franchises here, because there's Rob Zombie's a franchise unto himself, and he has a certain style of movie making. It's him and Tim Burton, I kind of feel are similar in that way, to where they are a franchise unto themselves, and they have a lot of creativity that's singular to that person. And then you have the Munsters, which has its own style and its own sensibility, and so it's like, can you have both of those things in the same project, where this franchise, without both of them being lesser?
yeah.
I think that it's kind of a waste to put Rob Zombie on something unless it's original. Same with Tim Burton.
Right.
I think we don't need Tim Burton to direct Dumbo or
No.
Wizard of Oz.
And we can't lose that charm. I mean, that's the thing, is that how are we going to balance the charm of the Munsters? They were very charming because they were kind of campy. So how do we balance that camp with the sensibilities of today? I mean, people are too cynical, I think, for camp, and it may just turn out to be a bad move. But we'll have to wait and see. I'd kind of like to get Butch Patrick's view on this. He's been hanging out with Rob lately, driving around in the coach, wondering, I guess, it's just Rob getting the feel of everything, trying to think what's going on. Like I say, you're right. You're looking at, be like saying Tarantino is going to be doing the Munsters. I hope it comes off okay. We're running out of time. Once again, where do we find you, Mr. Lobo?
If you have a Roku, OSI 74, add it to your Roku. Cinema Insomnia is the name of my TV show. Look it up on YouTube if you've never seen it before. We've got 45 episodes on YouTube. You can check it out and try before you buy.
Right on. Mr. Lobo, thank you so much for being on this shorter version of Channel Weird. We're going to get back to doing what we do at the conference. But anyway, once again, Cinema Insomnia, check it out. It's great. Still doing the great films right here on Channel Weird. Thank you so much, and we'll check again soon.